Ham United have produced a statement aimed at, well, you and I, basically. It says a message to all West Ham United supporters. Why are they doing this? Well, because I think they're on the back foot. Ordinarily, I wouldn't do this type of video, but I think the timing's right. I don't think it's particularly good to read through a club's statement at the best of times, but I think there's quite a lot I would like to pick up on in this statement. So that's what we're going to do in this video. If you're wondering, hey, why the hell are West Ham United producing a statement targeted at their supporters? Well, basically, as I say, I think they're on the back foot. There is protest planned for the game against Crystal Palace. There's a boycott planned against the game for the game against Brentford. There has been a vote of no confidence from the FAB. You'll hear me say those three letters a lot. It's a fan advisory board. Okay, that letter of no confidence has called for both David Sullivan and Karen Brady to resign their executive positions. That's all you really need to know at this point. If you don't know, I'm sure you did already. And this statement from the club to you is in relation to that. So I'm just going to start straight away. It says West Ham United recognises the views expressed in recent correspondence from supporter representatives on the fan advisory board and wishes to reassure all supporters that we continue to listen to fan feedback and advise them on the steps we're taking for the future well-being of the football club. Okay, I'm going to let all that stuff pass. They then go on to say, it's just 2 years since we lifted the club's first major trophy in 43 years. You're going to hear a lot of this. They're reminding you of what they're doing well and what the club has done well. It says the UEFA Europa Conference League triumph came in the middle of 3 successive campaigns in European competition. The first time we've ever achieved that feat. Now, I'm just going to be honest, I am going to nitpick quite a lot in this because I think it needs to be held to account. Now, I loved that time. I loved being in European competition, but it was the first time we've achieved that feat. But you can't use that as a comparison historically, because there just used to be 3 teams that ever used to qualify for Europe. That was it. The winner would qualify for the European Cup. The winner of the league, the winner of the cup would qualify for the Cup Winners' Cup, which, of course, West Ham fans know all too well. And then you had the UEFA Cup. That was it. You didn't have this situation where the team, basically mid-table teams, could qualify for Europe and the team in 8th position could. So I just really wanted to make that point. It is easier than ever to qualify for European competition. Was it good? Yes. I'm not belittling David Moyes' achievement here, but I just wanted to make that point because what the club are trying to spin here is trying to say, you've never had it so good, right? That's what the club are saying. And I just think it's important to pick that up. It says, following that period, significant investment was made into the football operation, both on signing new first-team players and the club's overall scouting network and player recruitment department. Again, I can't really let that go. I think there was a significant stride was made in appointing a director of football. We've since thrown that out. So it's not the first time either. There's been, in fact, I think we keep rehashing this thing. The first time I ever heard it was after the initial Burnley protests, all the way back pre-COVID, and it was actually the Watford game after that where David Sullivan announced that we were going to introduce a brand new video analytics department, and that's what we were going to do. However, it is worth noting that after that point, we did appoint Manuel Pellegrini and Huselos, who, to such an extent, didn't use it. Well, listen, I don't think we ever really built what was promised. But even if we had have built that data analytics department, it wasn't used by Pellegrini and Huselos, because when they left, they literally took the scouting dossiers with them, and they were paper-based. To the point was when David Moyes came in, he said, right, we've got to start from scratch. We have nothing. Literally, the cupboard was bare. So anyway, it's said after that period, we began overhauling the scouting network and the player recruitment department. Again, these feel like hollow words, particularly when, you know, I got no problem with Callum Wilson. He looks like he would hopefully be a decent player for us, but he is injury prone. He's at the end of his career. He's a Will Salthouse client as well, which doesn't, you know, sort of look too good. It's hard to look at some of the players that we've signed and think that they are part of the club's scouting network and player recruitment department. Now, if you're going to start throwing in people like Malik Diouf, who looks like he's going to be a really, really good player, well, that's not part of that scouting network that was put in after the Conference League, right? Because as the statement is going to go on to announce in a minute, we've hired Carl McCauley and we've hired Graham Potter to do that. So I'm not sure how accurate that is. It says, first of all, we accept the results and performances on the pitch over the past 2 seasons have not met with the standards we set for ourselves. Nobody at the club is satisfied with that, and the board of directors has spent a great deal of time looking at the decisions that have been made across the footballing operation in order to inform and improve strategy going forward. Oh, I'd like to know about that. I would personally like to know how much scrutiny has been placed on how the hell Julian Lopetegui was appointed, because that was... I still think that was probably the biggest mistake we've made in the last, year and a half, quite possibly. Some may say getting rid of David Moyes, but once you consider that that has already happened, I feel the failure, and it has been failure so far, of Graham Potter. The appointment of Graham Potter has overshadowed what is a horrendous error in hiring Lopetegui. So I'd like to know who sanctioned that deal and who... Anyway, they say they've looked at the decisions. How heavily have you looked at that? And having made that poor decision, what then made you decide to go and hire Graham Potter? Personally, I think the same facts remain at the club, which are we always seem to go on the cheap. We never go and pay compensation. Look, I'm happy to be proven wrong. If Graham Potter is dismissed after the Crystal Palace game, we go out and we go and pay compensation to Fulham for Marco Silva or something like that. I'll hold my hands up and say, well done. It does look like they're absolutely changing on that. But I suspect that's not what's going to happen. The statement goes on to say, our focus now is firmly on the future and building a team that can once again compete consistently in domestic competitions and in Europe. We have a strong platform from which to continue that quest. And we're entering our 14th consecutive season in Premier League, our longest unbroken top-flight run in the modern era. Again, they're saying we've done a good job. That's really what they're saying there. Obviously, factoring in modern era, it has been that. But you must remember that this is what it wasn't. That wasn't what was promised. What was promised was competing at the top. It didn't say we'll move to the London Stadium so as we could just continue to survive in the Premier League. I suspect we'd have done more or less what we were doing anyway. The last season at Upton Park was fantastic. We always should have pushed on from there. And, what it doesn't factor in, and the reason I guess it's important to stress the modern era, there's so much money in the game now. It was... times have changed since in 1980 when we won the FA Cup and when teams that were in sort of lower divisions could win cup competitions and stuff like that. The money in the Premier League now, as long as you're halfway competent, should really insulate you from that. So I think you should be looking at consecutive seasons in the Premier League. Goes on to say steps have already been taken to implement a new strategy and approach, particularly in the area of player recruitment. We've appointed Graham Potter as our new head coach. His role is to build and develop a first-team squad in line with the club's identity and objectives. Well, we don't know really what that identity is, and we don't know what those objectives are. With a continued focus on integrating young players from our academy. That's a tough one. It just ain't happened. We've been promised it. Graham Potter himself has promised it. It just ain't happened. And, well, I did the video yesterday about the young players who played so well in the 5-1 EFL trophy demolition of the MK Dons team. They don't look like getting much of a chance at all. So, again, particularly that last paragraph sounds like sound bites and hollow words, actually. Sporting director Mark Noble has played a key role in protecting and enhancing that pathway. I've got to take maybe even a slight bit of offence to that. I think, don't go bringing Noble's name into it. Actually, it almost seems why you throw him into that. You don't really want to dirty his reputation with all this load of nonsense. I said in yesterday's video, by the way, that I would consider the academy and Mark Noble to be exempt from the criticism which I would place onto the club at the moment. But let's not pretend Mark Noble has played a key role in protecting and enhancing that pathway, ensuring that the club's brightest young prospects are all secured on long-term contracts. OK, he's done that, providing Hughes experience and understanding of the club's identity to help nurture the progress of any players arriving to establish themselves in a first-team squad. Now, I think what I don't agree with is there's been no enhancing of the pathway to the first team. They're not getting a chance. They're not getting a chance. So whether or not that's part of the club's identity and objectives, I know the Academy of Football is whatever, sprayed, etched, painted onto the claret carpet at the London Stadium. And look, you see it, it's festooned all over the training ground. We'll get to the training ground in a minute, but I'm not sure. Again, I think they're sort of hollow words. It says, head of recruitment, Carl McCauley, was brought in to oversee player recruitment and transfers. Well, some of them. I think, we could say that probably Carl McCauley had nothing to do with Callum Wilson, had nothing to do with... Did I say Wilson earlier? Marshall? I get me Marshalls and me Wilsons mixed up. Did he have anything to do with Fabianski? Did he have anything to do with Carl Walker-Peters? But probably nothing to do with any of them, any of those. Did he have something to do with Fernandez? Yeah. Magassa? Yes. Juf? Yes. Amanson? Yes. But I still think, and I will still maintain, that you may have brought him in. He was a data analyst at Chelsea, and we have paid £1 million for him. But he is he's Graham Potter's right-hand man. If Graham Potter fails, and he does get sacked after Chelsea, and to be fair, he can't carry on losing. He's already statistically as bad as it gets for West Ham managers. Then you've got to expect that Carl McCauley goes as well. So, and this is the problem when you don't build up an infrastructure that actually facilitates and helps the head coach, but is separate from. This is exactly why, as I've argued since it happened, I don't have a huge problem with the dismissal of Tim Stight, and if we didn't think it was good enough, my problem was getting rid of the director of football role altogether. I mean, many of us suspect why it happened, and it's because the club want to retain some semblance of control over the transfers. David Sullivan likes being involved in transfers, and this is why I feel you're never going to get a situation where the demand for David Sullivan and Karen Brady to resign their executive positions is going to be successful. I think they like being involved too much. But yeah, anyway, if Potter goes, Carl McCauley's going to go as well. So I don't. He's gone with him every club from Ostersund's, Swansea, Brighton, Chelsea, West Ham. Where Potter goes, Carl McCauley goes. Right. So I'm not sure I'd be boasting and bragging about that quite now. It says we have listened to our supporters' individual and collective views around their perception of our London Stadium home and the club's facilities and infrastructure. I hate that word. Well, the perception is what I'm talking about. It's not. Okay, it is a perception, but I think to hear, if you're going to talk about the distance from the pitch, if you're going to talk about the ridiculous trampolines that are in there to separate the top from the bottom tier, if you're going to talk about the stop and go signs, if you're going to talk about inaccessibility and the inability to get out of the stadium when the game ends, those are not perceptions. Those are realities. There's a difference between a perception and a reality, right? For you to think that they are perceptions and not reality would honestly mean that you don't agree that the seats are too far from the pitch. I'd like that direct question answered. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not on the FOB. I'm not in these meetings. It's got nothing to do with me at all. If I could forward one question, which wouldn't be particularly helpful, I know what it's a rhetorical question. I know what the answer should be. Are the seats too far from the pitch? The answer is yes. I want to hear what the club say about that. Feedback about improving the matchday atmosphere in the stadium has been recognised as recently as the FAB meeting in August, and the club is already working with supporters to address their feedback. What more can they do? I mean, this is what I talk about. This is like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. I say at least you could move the chairs around on the Titanic. You can't really move the chairs any closer to the pitch at the London Stadium. Yeah, they've squared it off a little bit, but it's the one thing that would make a huge difference. It's not going to be done. They can't do it because it would need a massive reconfiguration of the stadium, which they're not prepared to do. They can't do. They don't have a working relationship with LS185 and London Legacy Corporation, all that stuff, LLDC. They don't have the relationship to do that, and nobody can afford to rebuild the roof so it covers new seats to be taken forward. So improving the matchday atmosphere. Okay, right. Well, I'd wait to see what that is. Work has been well underway with stadium operators LS185 and supporter groups dedicated to enhancing the atmosphere. Fan-led initiatives to improve the matchday feel, including the introduction of fan zones, fan-led displays, tifos. Don't even get me started on that. I've already done 15 minutes on this video. Ultimately, though, as is the case with every football stadium in the country, we accept that regular winning performances are the best way to improve the atmosphere. Yeah, look, that would help. We're crap at home, but the two things are not detached from one another. They're it's one of the reasons that there is no coincidence, in my opinion, that our best run of form in that stadium was when there were no fans in there, and I'm not blaming the fans. I'm just saying, I don't want to compare it to, it says every football club in the country. You can't really compare ours to every football stadium in the country. That's the point. Ours isn't a football stadium. Ours is an athletic stadium, and a really good one, by the way. A really good athletic stadium. Well, it was in 2012 anyway. We continue to do everything we can, working with supporters to improve the matchday experience on behalf... It's a bloody big daddy long list, you see that? He will interrupt again. He's in my periphery. He's distracted. Fancy daddy long legs. How dare he interrupt Karen Brady's statement? We continue to do everything we can, working with supporters to improve the matchday experience on behalf of 62,500 supporters. They're reminding you how big it is. That's what's happening. They're saying, look, we've moved to a big stadium now. Look what we've done. We welcome to every home fixture. Again, it's disingenuous. What they're saying is, we welcome 62,500 supporters every home fixture. You might welcome them, but they don't, they leave pretty sharpish, and they don't even wait till the end of the game because they're so sick of the whole thing. It's that the stadium is empty on so many occasions. We're proud to have the second highest average attendance in the Premier League. I'll tell you what, it won't be anywhere near if you look to who stays. And it's no criticism of the fans, by the way, at all. The fans have had enough. 50,000 loyal season ticket holders, also the second highest number in the Premier League. We've invested tens of millions of pounds on our training bases for men's, women's and academy squads. This includes millions of pounds spent this summer on continually improving our training facilities at Rush Green, including new pitches, medical facilities, gym and recovery areas, plus brand new facility for our under-21 academy development squad. Right, let me continue on this. This follows £4 million investment to completely renovate Chadwell Heath for the benefit of our academy and women's teams, and another £4 million investment into our brand new community hub at Beckton, home of the West Ham United Foundation, which helps thousands of people in the East London Essex area on a daily basis. Right, let's just West Ham shouldn't have multiple training bases. West Ham should have one big training complex which houses everybody and has multiple pitches. I don't know why they haven't done that. I do know why they haven't done that. If you're uncertain, go back and look at my video. It's this year. It's done in 2025 about Bournemouth's training ground, and Bournemouth isn't even the best. It's the newest, and it's got all the Hollywood attention. £50 million training complex. Oh my goodness! I mean, that's special. Really, really special. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to be perfectly blunt here. Because I've already praised the academy. Everything should be on one site. If it's not going to be on one site, then you really want to be, particularly bearing in mind that's the moneymaker, you really want to be developing Rush Green, and in particular the senior men's team's training facilities, because I couldn't tell you what the ladies' facilities are like, what the women's team facilities are like, what the under-20, what the academy facilities are like. I don't know. But I tell you this now, the last time that I went to the training facilities at Rush Green, they were nowhere near good enough. There were porter cabins there, plenty of them, by the way. I'll go on to this. It says, we believe the biggest strength of the men's first team training facility at Rush Green is the unique, intimate atmosphere. I mean, they're admitting it's small, enhanced by people within it. There's no criticism of people. I think there's so many people at West Ham work behind the scenes are amazing, right? I mean, really amazing. something that certainly can't hinder under... okay. It's basically saying that... It's a little dig. It's basically saying... They're basically saying people that complained about the rush green being behind the times didn't hinder us when winning the European trophy just 2 years ago. It basically goes on to say that the rush green is thriving again under Graham Potter. I mean, read the room. Do you know what I mean? Read the porter cabin. Our head coach has made clear his philosophy of developing an environment of trust and togetherness, built on the values that underpin the identity of our football club, including the importance of creating a pathway to the first team for our academy players. I wish they'd stop saying it. I mean, look, maybe it gets proven wrong this weekend against Crystal Palace. These are just words. I don't even... I think they expect everybody to believe this stuff and swallow this stuff. It is utter... Sorry, it's utter garbage. I'm not saying every detail of this is rubbish, but there is enough for me to pick apart here for 21 minutes already. I'm still not finished. Just garbage. Anyway. Creating a pathway to a first team for our younger academy players. Where? Where is it? Honestly, infrastructure and recruitment and scouts. Come on. It gets screwed up like a piece of old paper and thrown in a bin every time. And we restart again. And this is why we are years behind so many of these other clubs now. It is an absolute joke. This statement has not appeased me in any way, and that's what I think they mean to do. It's wound me up. It's wound me up. We have invited supporter representatives on the FAB to visit Rush Green in person to see the latest facility developments for themselves, and we'll continue to keep all supporters updated as our latest plans for improvement. I'd like to go there with my video camera. That's what I'd like to do. Of course, I would say that, but the reason I say that is I can't remember. 2017, 2018, something like that. Video, we've got videos on here. Videos on actually not on here, it's on the main Hammers Chat channel. I'd have a direct comparison, a direct barometer. I'd go in there and say, okay, yeah, this improved, it looks great. I'll tell you what I will say is the pitches are brilliant, all right? The football pitches and stuff like that are brilliant, and the staff are brilliant. But there's not enough football pitches, there's not enough of them. You need loads of them. I mean, loads and loads of pitches. You need the indoor arena, and you need all of the stuff, and it's just not there because the site is not big enough. It may be if they knock that little stadium thing down that's there, but then there's games that are played there. But this is why you need a big plot of land. We are so far behind. I cannot begin to tell you. We are so far behind every other club in the Premier League with our training facilities. We really are. In terms of our current financial outlook, the club is stable and sustainable. Like all Premier League clubs, we must balance the desire to compete at the highest level of responsibility to run the club sensibly and prudently. We are operating within the PSR rules governed by the Premier League, which limit us to a minimum losses over a rolling 3-year period of 105 million, which is £35 million per year. Those are losses, not how much you can spend. We try and maintain a balance by remaining both compliant and competitive as we've been throughout the last 13 years in the Premier League. I don't know enough about PSR to start picking that to bits. Maybe I'll leave that to somebody else. This means being cautious at times, but it does not point to a lack of ambition. I will argue with that. That I will argue with. I will, because we're not up to that PSR limit. We are really, really not. And if you really want to, as we've seen with the selling of the women's team that other clubs have done, as we've seen with selling land back to yourself, selling training grounds, there is scope with us to actually create more of a PSR buffer zone by generating more income. Basically, there are loopholes there where our owners can put their own money into the club. So it is. I call that one out. There's a lack of ambition. Over £450 million has been spent on new player signings over the last 3 years, including an average net spend of £100 million per season in that period. Again, I feel that the figures are being massaged there. You know, they've got Declan Rice. Well, I know they're saying net spend, so I guess they're not counting Declan. We've certainly not spent £100 million in this season. And the club have always managed to stay within the PSR rules. Yes, because you're not stretching them. We also continue to make positive progress and enjoy successful growth off the field across all other areas of the organisation. Ultimately, people don't care. Sorry, I say people. I can only talk for myself. I shouldn't be talking on behalf of anyone else. I don't care. The club has enjoyed sustained high commercial growth, continues to allow us to compete. Every penny generated is reinvested back into the football club. Don't know, couldn't say. We are pleased to inform all supporters that there's a positive and productive meeting with the FAB, with the FAB recently took place. Don't know, haven't seen the minutes. During the meeting which took place at London Stadium on Thursday, 11th of September, and was offered to the FAB in light of their recent letter addressed to the club shareholders. A range of subjects were discussed and opinions were shared by supporters' representatives in an honest and respectful manner. Supporter representatives shared what they saw as priority areas for the club to focus on, and it was agreed that this would form an agenda for the next formal FAB meeting. Vice Chair Baroness Brady, along with Executive Director Tara Warren, as the club's nominated board-level official for direct engagement with the FAB, but they both attended the meeting in representation of the Board of Directors to hear supporters share views on a range of issues, including leadership and governance, financial strategy, PSR concerns, commercial and stadium strategy, heritage, vision, the strategic vision for the club, fan relations, trust concerns about the playing squad and on-pitch performance. Oh, that was a mouthful. They listened to the details and views behind the letter and committed to sharing a presentation outlining the board's strategy and vision. This is... I should read it because it's not fair to criticise and not read it all. There's another meeting which is due to take place at London Stadium next month, which will address the contents of their letter in more detail. A meeting summary will be shared at the same time with our wider fan base. Supporters have spoken of the need for greater ambition than our position of the past 2 seasons, and we agree. So they say they've been ambitious, but they also agree that we need greater ambition. Regular top half finishes, strong domestic cup runs, qualification for European competition remain goals we are working towards. We know we must do better to deliver those ambitions more consistently. We're proud of our history and our loyal supporter base, and we remain committed to building a club that reflects both. We look forward to continuing dialogue with the FAB, among other direct channels of communication with our fan base. We encourage all supporters to remain engaged and we move forward together. The club would like to place on record thanks and appreciation to all of our fans in the UK, all over the world, for their continued backing of West Ham United and the role they have played in helping us become one of the biggest, best supported football clubs in the world. There's no mention here of the protest, so they're just dealing with the letter of no confidence from the FAB. Wow. Quite a whopper, hey? Quite a whopper. There's too much that I don't like in there, as you've probably guessed. I don't listen to that and think that... Do you know what I hear? Basically, they're saying the words that we hear what you're saying, but I don't think they are. I don't think they think there's too much wrong with the stadium. I don't think they think there's too much wrong with their recruitment strategy. I'm surprised they've put certain things in there, actually, because there are certain things that are just they can be challenged on. Well, I could challenge, I just have challenged them. Hopefully there's going to be a number of people who watch this and just have challenged them on it. So there you go. That's me calling that out. But particularly with the Potter and Macaulay one, they've put a lot of stock by that. And that could be gone like that. It really could. I just think, to get back onto football, so much hinges on this Crystal Palace result. I think West Ham win against Crystal Palace and carry on winning, it makes that statement look more powerful. If West Ham lose and then carry on losing, Graham Potter leaves, Carl Macaulay leaves, we then start that process again. It falls down like a house of cards, basically. It really does, and that's what the whole thing seems like to me. I'm not going to go back through it all again. It's been half an hour. Thank you very much for your time. Ordinarily, I might ask you to subscribe or something like that, but you're probably sick of hearing it. So I'm gonna leave it there. There you go. Statement from West Ham United to you.